Good morning, everybody. 8:15 a.m. It is August 15th. Some news, big news dropped. One of them is Fitch warns he might have to downgrade U.S. banks, including J.P. Morgan. That took the market up from the highs in the overnight all the way down. China also cut rates. It was a surprise. Now, the difference with that is usually when you cut rates, it should be good for the economy, right? Like it should make things, it's stimulus basically. However, it's showing that they're in trouble if they're cutting rates. So the market's looking at it like they're in trouble. This is kind of like a life raft. It's not looked at as strong, so that's not looking favorably on China. And crude is following suit with that. Okay. Just thought I'd give you those headlines right off the bat if you didn't know why the market was down. Without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use volume profile, market profile, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and the most traded price of the rolling week and the rolling month to structure the market. Price can fool you, and that's why I choose to use those as my roadmap. Keeps you on the right side of the market. Okay, and that's what I try to do in the scenarios. Always know where participants are trading, right? And just know the structure of the market. And it gives you just a roadmap. It's great. That's why I love it. I could see it on my charts, right? So, welcome if it's your first time. Of course, you can subscribe, set an alert as well. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Okay, you can always follow me on Twitter at Gonzo719. Okay, let's get right into the watch list and see what's going on here. Okay, the VIX up 6.41%. Okay, so let's check it out. So we're still volatile, folks. Nice little recovery yesterday, right? But then this news came out, and it's really, once we get into the market profile, volume profile, I'll show you what we have to do. It's basically almost the same level as yesterday. So that's what we'll do. So let's take a look. Now, Bitcoin's been just hanging around this 30,000 level. So 10-year yield now. Bonds are being sold further. So the 10-year yield should rise again. And that reports at 820. So dollar is down slightly. Gold is down 0.48. Nasdaq's down 0.54. 30-year bonds are being sold. ES down 0.64, the Dow's down 0.75, the Russell's down 0.87, silver's down 0.96, almost a percent. Crude's down 1.64%, down to $81 a barrel. It was up to 84 something. Okay, remember I mentioned yesterday I didn't know about the China cutting rates. No one did. I said that it's getting a little frothy, crude, and it went up to a level where I might be interested in doing some type of short. So I'm going to let it set up to see if I do go after that. Okay. Kind of pulled back. You can look at the chart maybe a little bit later to show you what I'm seeing. But let's move on to the stocks I like to day trade. Now, you can see right here, I also watch the VIX futures. So that's up pre-market, right? Now, Nvidia. Okay, Nvidia is the lone wolf here. Nvidia had a huge move yesterday. Okay, and I actually was looking at a put ratio for credit I didn't get filled because it just took off. I wanted to see some weakness, and then it took off. I mean, that would have already paid me from yesterday from that huge move, but that's trading. However, Nvidia earnings are coming up, right? It's got a ton of price target raises. However, a big news is Saudi Arabia is buying Nvidia chips, right? So it's just getting a flood of bullish news. Okay, price target raises. Saudi Arabia buying Nvidia chips. Obviously, Saudi is a very rich country. Okay, so that's that. Okay, coin's been decimated as of late. Hit the 50-day moving average. Well, let's see if that's a bounce point, but it's just been very weak. Okay, now let's go to the main laggards. All right, now financials are taking a huge hit because of the Fitch warning of a downgrade of the U.S. banks. Okay, now it's a warning, so it still doesn't matter. It's bad. Okay, so let's go to the bottom three. So you got Boeing, Tesla, J.P. Morgan is one of those banks they talked about. Now, Tesla news, they're coming out with cheaper models with lower, how do I put it? With lower miles. They can only get the lower amount of miles to each charge. Okay, so they're trying to cut costs. So that's what they're doing there. All right, let's move on to top sector stocks that I watch. Now, in here, obviously to the top of this list, you're going to notice some defensive stocks like McDonald's, Costco, United Healthcare, Walmart. These are all defensives, right? So they're not getting hit as hard. Home Depot reported earnings. They didn't do as bad as they thought, but it's not great earnings. Okay. Now let's go to the biggest of the laggards. Okay. CAT. And this is no surprise. Morgan Stanley's down in percent. That's financials. Goldman Sachs financials. Roblox down 1.15. And then we got Exxon down big, 1.73. I'm surprised Chevron's not as much, right? But Exxon is. Okay. So big shock to crude with China, and the dollar's been moving higher. Okay. Sectors. There's probably going to be no shock here, but the strongest is semis, but that's because of Nvidia, right? XLK is Nvidia as well, so that's why. Otherwise, that would be a lot weaker. Okay. Now the laggard, we got basic materials, financials, energy. So financials and energy are the weakest. Okay. So it's very interesting to see now from this. Are people going to buy that dip in energy? Because energy just had a really extended move, right? And I've been waiting for a real nice pullback, either to think if I want to go long, or do I think this is too soon, the rally. Okay. All right, that clears up that. Now I want to get into give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Just want to set up you guys with some news that I've already kind of told you about. So, 1 second, please. Okay, let's just get into some news. All right, so I'm gonna go over it quickly. Home Depot posts more than expected drop. I told you about that. I told you about the Tesla launches cheaper Model S and X versions. Okay, with shorter driving ranges. Okay, It says striking Hollywood writers expected to respond to studio's proposal. So that's still going on. U.S. Steel still his shares are jumping because of all these offers. Bankman-Fried used $100 million in stolen FTS funds to fund political donations, and then I don't think there was much in here that I was like, whoa, that I didn't know about. And just the price target raise to 540 for Nvidia. But there was a bunch of price target raises, so I'll just show you that here. All right, I'll show you that right here. Look how many firms raised Nvidia. Wells Fargo raised it to 450 to 500. Nvidia, Bard 475 to 570. UBS 475 to 540. Okay, that's why Nvidia is getting so much love. And then that news of the Saudi Arabia, okay, buying chips. Okay, now here's the big news that was dropping. Okay, so we got at 5:30 a.m. Fitch analyst warns it might have to downgrade some U.S. banks. Okay. Then Bank of America, a net 60% of respondents expect rate cuts next year, the biggest conviction since November 2008. Okay. Now, we can get into this right here. I'm not sure how good you guys can see, so I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. I'm going to talk about right here. Okay. So, as worries rose that China's sputtering recovery and debt issues will extend to the global economy, stocks and bonds fell. China's unexpected rate cut didn't calm investors' concerns about policy measures to boost the economy. Instead, it increased them, sending Europe's stock 600 index down as much as 1.2% to the lowest level in a month. U.S. equities futures pointed to a decline at market opening. Okay, world's bonds decreased, treasury yields extended their climb. It says China's emergence from pandemic lockdowns has been unsatisfying, fanning concern to world economic engine is sputtering. China is fighting to contain a potential default as developer country garden after its missed payments on its debt. Okay, then we have the Fitch analyst warns it might have to downgrade U.S. banks, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and now if the market takes this and we just rip higher, well, there you go. It's not going to care. Okay? So that's what's going on. I mean, what else do we got? We have U.S. retail sales coming out in 2 minutes. Expecting 0.4. Okay, previous was 0.2. Fed Kashkari speaking today at 11 a.m. So not a big bunch of news coming today. We have FOMC minutes tomorrow. Now, as far as earnings, I already talked about Home Depot. It looks like Getty Images is down. Let's see here. Oh, I want to. Yeah. So Home Depot was the only one, and it's not really mattering to the stock right now, really, because of this news on the banks and China cutting rates. So one thing I did want to show you guys is this little news snippet that I saw from my boy here. Let's go to market updates here. So here's the Nvidia, right? Saudi Arabia and UAE are buying Nvidia chips for AI. Okay, so that's very, very interesting. Now, one other thing is this right here. This is very, very interesting here. Fund managers are the least bearish in 18 months, Bank of America survey says. Bank of America's monthly global fund manager survey paints the least The least bearish picture since February 22, it says. The survey found that its cash holdings dropped to a 21-month low of 4.8% from 5.3%, and 3 out of 4 fund managers expect either a soft landing or no landing. That's interesting, right? All right, so they dropped. What do we got here? Retail sales. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. They went up. Okay. Retail sales month over month. Consensus 0.4 went up to 0.7. Retail sales X autos, consensus 0.4 at 1. So went up higher. Went up higher. I'm not sure how much that's going to move the market right now with this news. We'll get into that. All right, give me 1 sec. I'm going to pull up, you know, we'll look at daily charts. Just give me a sec while I pull that up. All right, we'll start out with the good old SPY there. I haven't seen my boy Wian in here in a little bit. Not sure if he's out there. Maybe Colby's watching. Rosita is an entrepreneur in Vegas. Not sure she's watching. But some people are watching, I guess. All right. All right. Oh, there's my boy Colby. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get into this. What did we do yesterday? Now, I talked about yesterday. The triple Qs hit the 10-week EMA. Okay. Apple has not been able to really break below 177.5. All right. Hitting its 100-day moving average. If they don't break, the market ain't going lower. Okay. Microsoft's been beat down. Okay. So you need that Apple to break 177.5 if we think this market's going to go lower. So I saw that too, Kobe. So just wanted to point that out. So what did we do yesterday? Okay. Opened here. We went down a little bit and then we just drove up, right? But for a large part of the day, we consolidated and we pushed higher into the close. Okay. And we closed at 448. Yeah, 448, right? We're at 445. We're here. We're all the way down here. We're at the lows. That's bearish, okay? So let's look at our weeklies, right? We got our orange here is last week's high and low. So we're within last week's range, okay? Within last month. So the whites are the months. This is the last month's highs and lows. Okay, so overall, we're inside the last week and inside last month. Okay, we still have not hit the 50-day moving average. We're below the 9 EMA daily. We're below the 20 simple moving average. Now we're just consolidating here. Okay, we're consolidating. Now, let's go to the Qs. Okay, so the Qs, notice what it did. Here's last week's highs and lows. Look where it went. It opened, tagged last week's lows. Happened to be Friday's lows as well, right? And boom, off to the races. Nvidia had a big part in that yesterday. Oh, Rosita. Are you a listener or a watcher, Rosita? Well, we'll find out. So there's pretty much a double bottom here, right? And Nvidia just exploded. Okay, that's going to help the market, obviously, right? In tech. And we wound up closing above the 50-day moving average. All right. Now, so we have a trend line here. All right. So we're still below the 90 EMA daily, still below the 20 simple moving average. But this is a big move here to close above the 50-day moving average. Okay. Now, right now, I can hear we just hit the Nasdaq just hit the most traded price of the week right now in my ear. So that the market's starting to find a little buyers right now. Okay. So where are we now? 368.40. Right here. We're about the mid of yesterday's range. Okay. We're at the mid. Now, let's look at the weeklies. We're inside last week's high and low. We're inside last month's high and low. Okay. So inside month, inside week. Okay. We got a trend line here. Still intact. You can see it. We got a hit of resistance here, and this has not been touched yet. But notice this is lining up with previous week's high and low. So we'll have to see what we do in the Qs. Okay. Let's look at the Dow. The Dow is definitely been holding stronger. Okay. Now United Healthcare is consolidating. Could look to break out. Okay. Could be looking to break out. That's the largest holding in the Dow. So this is just coiling. Okay. It's coiling. We have a trend line here. This trend line is pretty nice. Look at that. One touch, two touch, three, four. Holding nicely. And we're just consolidating. Okay. The Dow right now is at 350.73. So it is all the way down here. Big gap down here at these lows. Now I do see a little resistance here, so I'm going to put a little, well, that's probably on my other chart. Let's see if it's on my other chart here. Let's go to this level here. Let's see. I'm going to go and put that level right there on my chart. So just so you guys know, I have a chart of trend lines, and then I have a chart of levels. Okay. But I'm going to go back to the trend line one. All right. So this is what we're doing. Now look what's happening here. They're right in between a 20-day simple moving average and a 90-day daily. Okay, but it's just holding, right? All right, so look at here in the Dow. Here's last week's highs and lows. We're in between that, but there's the previous week's highs and lows, right? So it's just holding these levels, right? Here's the low of last month, high of last month. All right, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We're inside last month, but we're inside the last 2 weeks. So it is queuing. I don't know if we go higher, but it's queuing up for a big move. Okay. Now let's look at the Russell. Russell's going to be weaker because of this bank news, and Russell has a lot of financials. Okay, part of the index. Okay, it's not as tech heavy. It's not market weighted with any one stock. Obviously, it's 2000, so it's spread, but there is no like largest holding per se. More people say it's a more reflection of our economy. Okay, so look at this trend line here. Now we can make this a little smaller here. So I got a couple trend lines here. So we got a trend line here that's being honored here. And look, it broke it, hit the 50-day moving average yesterday, and came above it, right? So let's look at where we're at now. Where are we at now? 189. We're down all the way almost to the lows. That's because of the commercial small banks, okay? Commercial banks. So all the way at the low. This is very bearish for the Russell, okay? Holding this trend, got a nice trend here too. A lot of touches on this trend line, okay? Hit the 50-day, we're below it now. This was a nice excess, but that doesn't matter because this news came out. Now check out that last week's highs and lows right here. We closed within it last week, right? Big monthly levels here, highs and lows, still within last month. This is not looking good for the Russell. Okay, not looking good. Let's look at some levels here. So hit the 188 level. That's a key level here. Hit that. Key resistance at 191. So now we can go over to the 10-year yield. 10-year yield is spiking to 4.24. So something's got to give here. All right, we're looking at the triple-headed monster, right? So something's got to give. Bonds, the yields are rising, pulled back, now it's rising, and this is above, I believe, the last spike. Well, it's like, here we go. Spiked up to 4.3. That was October of 2022. This is when the bottom was put in the market. So just think about that. This is the October lows, and the yields were that high. We're up here, and the market is approaching all-time highs. So you can see how disconnected bonds are, right? But the bonds are rising. Yields are rising, right? Very interesting what's going to happen here. We're getting kind of like a reverse hammer here. So it went up, and people started to buy bonds. So we have to see what the 10-year yield, what happens here. Let's look at the VIX, because we are more volatile. We are more volatile, okay? So we're up. We were down here. Now we're in this range. Now we're holding in this range. See the difference? Holding here to here. Here, our moves were not as volatile. Here they are. So that's why we're moving around more. And again, a 16 VIX is a 1% expected move a day in the index, okay, in the SPX. A 32 VIX expects a 2% move. So that just gives you an idea. Okay, let's look at the dollar. Now the dollar is getting love. Okay, yen's being sold, and the euros are being sold. Okay, that's gonna push up the dollar. Okay, so I mean we can look at a weekly. You know what? We don't need to look at a weekly. We can see it right here. I mean, this was really the bottom, and then it's just been rising since, and then, which is bad for crude, bad for metals, bad for commodities, right? The higher dollars actually not great for stocks either. So that is that. Now we're going to get right over to market profile. Let's look at the structure of this market. Okay, big orders hitting the tape. Big orders hitting the tape. Don't know if that's selling or buying, but we will find out. I mean, I have my time in sales. Gives me an alert for large lot orders. So that one of them just went off. All right. So let's look at that's the NQ. Let's look at the ES. All right. So big move from that news of the Fitch. Big single prints here. Okay, we got single prints. Let's look at our structures together. Okay, so in the last week, we are still have a bearish imbalance to this profile. Okay, so all that means is a completed profile would mean that we would have more of an extension to the downside. Okay, so we're skewed to the bearish side. So the profile is giving you a bearish view. Okay, it's telling us there's might be more room to the downside. Okay, big level, most traded price of the week. What is that? 44.93 happens to be the most traded price of yesterday. That's our line in the sand. Write it down. It's the line in the sand. Okay, most traded price of the month is still way up there, way up there, but that is going to come down. I would suspect maybe today. And if that happens and it moves down here, well, a huge move's going to come. That's ultimate balance. When the most traded price of the month and the most traded price of the week are equal, that's huge balance. Okay. Why is that? Well, that's the most trades that everybody's agreed on the last week and the last month, that's the fairest price, right? So if everybody agrees and it's one price, then whatever we move up away from that or down away from that is going to cause a huge move, because just the most people are going to get hurt. That's how that works. Okay. Now let's look at where we're at now in relation to yesterday. So here's yesterday's high. Here's yesterday's low. Okay. There's the overnight low. Here's the overnight high. Now you can see at the time, before the big move happened, there was a lot of volume building out in the overnight. Well, guess what? Those longs got crushed with that news. They're single prints right to where? The most traded price of the week. Okay. Okay, so now, and we opened here. So we have this much long activity to this much short activity. We're about 75% net short right now. Okay. So this is I mean, not exact, but this is almost a week low right here. Yesterday's low and the overnight low. Most traded price of the overnight is here. Now, this is setting up for, I'm being honest with you, a long, just based on structure, meaning you don't want to short. I wouldn't be interested in shorting here, right? And because this overnight inventory is 75% net short, right? We have single prints, right? So, short right now could be a fade, right? So the fade is there because look at all this volume here. Mostly probably short. Now this could happen right in front of our eyes, because if this price starts moving back towards this price, these shorts have to cover, and it's going to probably make us open around here. That's what's going to happen. Okay, if we continue to move away from this price, people are going to cover and take profit. I would like to see a push down lower that fails, and that could make that move happen. So let's get into some scenarios here. All right, let's get into some scenarios. Let's start off with the ES. Okay. All right. Now we have our level here. That's the line in the sand. We have a supply right here, supply right here. This is a big level. Okay. Now let's talk about the bullish side of it. Okay, we're in a demand zone right now. Okay, so the bullish side of this is the market comes down, makes new lows, breaks this weak low, right? And maybe there's another demand right behind this. Okay, so it could even dip, but then if it recovers quickly, goes through the open, right? Makes some higher lows. This could make, and then remember, this price is very important, the most traded price of the overnight. Once we take that, it could really, you would really see a jolt up, move higher here. So you probably do this and move back right to here, and that would be the next test. This is the supply. That would be the next test. If it captured it, held it, we're going to go back to this supply and reach yesterday's highs, which happens to also be the monthly VWAP. Okay. Now, conservative long is if we just move up, hold this, hold this, hold this, we do that. Okay. Now, we talk about bearish side, right? So we have supply here, big level here. That's the defense for the bears. Okay. Obviously, can we open and just push through this weak low here? Yep. And then we just hold and we move down? Possible. I don't think that's likely, but it's possible. Okay. So for me, what I would like to see, as long as it comes up into here and to test this level with the supply and the most traded price of the week and yesterday, and it holds, well then we could roll over and test this. This is a naked VPOC down here and go down here, right? So those are that. Now, the other where this comes in is here. The next thing what happen is if the market does reach, like I showed you in the bull scenario, if it does reach to happen to go into this supply, you got monthly VWAP here. Okay, this would be the test to see what the market does here. If it starts doing lower highs, well, it could test here and then go lower. Now remember, the key though, okay, the big key is Apple. Apple's at 178.75. Okay, it needs to go below 177.5 and hold in order for this market to really get weak. Okay, for this market to really be strong, it needs to break 180 and hold over 180. Okay, you really need to pay attention to Apple. Look at a chart, and we could maybe look at it for a second. A chart on Apple just to see its daily chart. It is putting in a bottom. It is putting in a bottom, and it is not going below 177.5, and it is not breaking the 100-day moving average. It's probably a buying opportunity if most fund managers are bullish, right? But nobody knows what's going to happen. I don't know. That's why I'm just giving you the information, okay? Now let's move over. Let's move over to the NASDAQ. Now, NVIDIA is just a monster. NVIDIA is a monster. So, and remember, NASDAQ doesn't have financials as part of that 100 stocks of the NASDAQ 100. It just doesn't, right? So the S&P is going to be pulled down more. All right, so let's look at what we got here, okay? Here's our weekly profile. We got a double distribution here, boop, but not a lot of excess. Okay, why is that? Well, look at these lows here. That's why you don't have a lot of excess. Remember I talked about this level here. It falls off a cliff. If the NASDAQ breaks that level, falls off a cliff. What else looks like that? Apple. Okay, so Apple looks just like that. And I showed you guys that level yesterday in the NASDAQ. It literally falls off a cliff. All right. So we got our most traded price of the week. Sitting at 152. 152. Okay, that's 15,200. We're below it. Okay, we're below it. We're right here. Price is right here. So let's see what I mean about these levels. We're right here. Most traded price of the week. I love it. I mean, you can't. I love it. I love it. That's a Rosita, that one. And so anyway, let's look at if there's anything we can see. Nuance, nuance, value, maybe a little bit, but let's see here. Let's just go off of this, okay? Yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows, overnight low, overnight high. Look at the overnight high. Hit the 50-day simple moving average on the daily. Okay? So this has been tough sledding. 50-day simple moving average, 9 EMA daily. Okay? That kept the cap on this. Doesn't mean it, eventually it's got to break it if it goes higher. I mean, obviously, right? So we got single prints. We're holding under this level. Now, we have supply here, too, that formed. Okay? So the NASDAQ has a little easier setup, in my opinion. to look at. Okay, the inventory, I mean, opened here. You got long and short activity. I wouldn't say that's much of an edge. I would expect this most traded price of the overnight to move here if it keeps here, if it stays there. All right. So for me, I mean, the bull move, um, I don't love it, but I'm going to give you the scenarios, okay, for the bullish way. Okay, so what I could see happening is one of two things here. I could see us pushing down. Okay, this is one. Push down. Now you have single prints from yesterday here and here. Definitely can take them. But then if we hold this big level down here, that's a weak low. That's that cliff. That's probably 177.5 on an apple. All right. If you hold that lower high, then you're going back up here. Okay. You're going to go back up. You're going to test this most traded price of the week. If you can take it and beat up that supply, we're probably moving up to yesterday's highs. Okay. Now, second, what can happen? We can open, push down a little bit, hold, hold. Then what happens is you move up into this supply and you hold it. Then if you're just making lower highs, then you can go higher, right? So those are the two things that I see. All right, so I'll be looking for that. I prefer, for me, the move down here. Okay, why? Because you have more fuel for the long. You have more people short. Not as much here. It's still viable, but this is the more me. I like this kind of play. I like people to be in fear more. Okay, so that's just my style. All right, so let's look at the bearish side. All right, clear supply up here, supply here, big level here. Price is right at the most traded price of the week right now. Okay, so in order to be bearish, all right, I would like to see something like this. Push down and then go oop, start to come back up, test this monster level with supply here. Now, this is the big test. Can it take the level? If it can't and it starts making higher lows or lower highs, right? And we dip under it and hold, we're going to go lower. We're going to start taking out and hitting in this demand. Okay, and that's big level here. If that breaks and Apple breaks 177.5, we're going down at least to this negative epoch down here. Okay. Other thing, what can happen? We all know it could take this level. We could take that level. And then what do you got here? You got supply up here, 50-day moving average on the daily, monthly VWAPs above us, and we got a 90-MA daily. So we could go up, test the overnight highs. And if you get a big rejection, well, then we're going to at least go back to here. And then don't know if we fall. Okay? So, you know, you want to take the market in extremes. You know, it might be scary to some, but that's how you, for me, I need the most pain, either short or long, to be on the right side of this thing. Market's volatile right now. Okay? All right. So, that's probably going to be it for me. All right. Let me see if I just want to show you something just really quick. I think I showed you guys the other day, but just I got to show you. I got to show you. Just to reiterate what I was talking about here. Let's go to the daily real quick. Let's look at Apple. Just want to show you what I'm talking about. You see Apple here? Look at that. How many times has Apple went down low? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 candles, daily candles, cannot break below this 176, 177.5 level. It can't do it. Here's the 100-day moving average. Okay? Here is not last month's low. The previous month's low is right here, 176.92. It has not been able to close down there. So you need this to break. Now, Same thing in the NASDAQ. I showed this yesterday. I'll show it again. Let's go back here. Let's go back to this chart. Okay, this the profile shows you beautifully. Look at this cliff. Look at this high volume, and then look at this drop off. That's the 170. Think about it. That's the 177.5 on Apple. This is the level, and the Nasdaq is holding. If this breaks, boom, you're gonna go here, and then if it really breaks, we're going back here. Okay, just wanted to reiterate that. Hope everybody's on my page. See what we're gonna do. Be patient. Okay, be patient. Nvidia is a beast. Okay, that's gonna hold up the Nasdaq a little bit, but if that starts to get a little weak, okay, woof. All right. So, I'm gonna be waiting for my setups. I hope everybody has a good day. Stay green. Try to stay green, right? That's the name of the game. Um, and most likely hear from me tomorrow. All right. So, good luck to everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Meet you back here tomorrow morning. All right. Take it easy.